Okay, we were just listening to an interview I did with a bunch of the Avengers cast, and we were talking about what kind of meats we would be, and I've been joined in studio, I don't know how I feel about this, by my longtime companion, Jordan Schlansky.
Hi.
Wow, brimming with enthusiasm. Jordan, that was an interesting conversation, I thought.
Okay, I'll go along with that premise.
What kind of meat do you think you would be? What kind of... The Avengers were just talking about what kind of meats they would be. What kind of meat would you be?
Oh, I'd probably be Tuscan Chianina bullock, an uncastrated bullock, the famous white cow known throughout Tuscany, also Umbria and Lazio, but specifically Tuscany, which provides the meat for the famous beefsteak alla Fiorentina, which should always be cooked al sangue with only salt, preferably over a wood fire.
Incredible. I don't know why I thought I'd hear anything less than a 9-minute monologue. Why does the bull need to be castrated?
I didn't say the bull needed to be castrated. I said in certain countries, a bullock is known to be castrated. In other countries, for example, in North America, the bullock is not castrated. However, in the United Kingdom, the bullock is castrated.
How does that affect the taste of the meat?
Well, in fact, being castrated does affect the taste of the meat. And in Italy, they'll call a castrated lamb like a castrato. It has its own name because people seek that meat's flavor. There's hormonal changes. I'm not familiar with the endocrine system of the various animals.
I've never heard you say for a second that you were unfamiliar with something.
Well, I mean, if you were castrated, do you feel it would change you?
What do you mean, if I were castrated? I was castrated in 1991. What are you talking about?
Okay. There are changes that happen.
I'm quite aware,
yes,
yeah.
A lot of what we know of ourselves is based on our testes.
What do you mean what we know of ourselves is based on our testes?
The person we know as ourselves is a combination of many complex factors, not the least of which are our testes, which provide certain hormones and other physical reactions that occur to produce the person that you know today.
Okay. So you say you are your cock is basically what you're saying.
When we talk about castration, that may be involved, but we're really talking about the testes. I think I said testes. Testes. Testes.
Okay. Most people, when they're working with a microphone, as you are now, say testing, testing, testing. But you just said testes, testes, testes. That was kind of a humorous quip on my part.
And you would probably be a pork chop.
Why do you say that with such disdain? What's wrong with a pork chop?
You would be a pork chop with the fat cap that has not been properly scored to the point that once it hits that hot grill, it curls up immediately. You are curled up in the fetal position with your fat cap. You are a pork chop.
Jesus. What a damning indictment. You say that it's such a lowly thing. I think...
What's wrong with... I'm not making any judgment.
Well,
I'm simply describing...
Hey, if you're listening right now and you heard disdain in Jordan's voice, honk your horn. Wow, that's going to be a lot of horns honking across this great old USA.
I like pork chops. I have no problems with pork chops. What's the problem with being a pork chop?
I love nothing more.
Do you disagree?
I love nothing more. When I'm walking down the street and I see a sign that says, we've got steaks and chops... I'm there. I love a good old chop house. And if I'm in Baltimore and it's a Baltimore chop house, I salute it 3 times before I go in and stuff my face. So don't put down a pork chop. I think it's a great part of America.
What I'm saying is...
you do a lot of, Jordan, is you talk about, well, in Umbria they do this, and in Boliana they do that. And then you look at me and you go, you and your pork chop. Well, guess what? There's a bunch of Americans here who love a pork chop. I like a hot dog. I like a pork chop. I like a hamburger. Because I love the United States of America, Jordan, and you should try to love it too, or buddy, you better leave it.
You're a pork chop. Now, when you have a pork chop, there's a fat cap, okay? Now, if you don't score the fat cap, the pork chop curls in some feeble, flailing display when it hits that hot grill.
But you don't mean to be derogatory in any way. I'm curled in a feeble way.
We're talking about a pork chop.
You just said I am that pork chop.
I didn't say you're that pork chop. I said you're a pork chop. Yes, it's possible you've not been properly scored and you curl in some kind of flailing motion, which I'll call fetal.
Okay. Jordan, if we did a remote where you were castrated, would you agree to go along with that?
No, I would not.
Okay. What if we surprise you?
No, that does not change the answer.
What if I call you to walk into the office and you come in and there's a little table and you put your feet in some straps? Okay. And you've got the old...
Well, that's probably how it would happen.
We got the old chopperoonie there going, you know?
Chopperoonie.
Yeah. Anywho.
Is that the plural of chopperino?
You'd probably taste different later on.
Oh.
Do you think you would taste differently if we castrated you? How long before we notice the difference in taste when we cooked your flesh?
I do think I would taste different if you were to eat my flesh. I guess we're having this conversation. Thank you for choosing the premise so intelligently. Yes, if we were to remove my testes, I might have a different flavor. Were one to then eat my flesh. That's two perverse behaviors that would need to be performed to yield this result.
Okay, well, you suggested it, and we're going to make it happen. Stay tuned to Team Coco Radio, Sirius Channel 106. Jordan will be castrated, and then at some point later on, once his body has undergone certain chemical changes, he'll be cooked and eaten. That's the kind of stuff you can look forward to on this channel. You're not going to find that on Yacht Rock, baby.